What you gonna do? Represent, yeah, we fresh to death. From east to west, float on my friends. Represent, yeah, we fresh to death. From east to west, float on my friends.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Bodhi Harrison with TheFloatLife here. Welcome to Rep Your Set, and I'm about to rep my set, show you my setup. This is my ideal street freestyle one-wheel setup. This is what I love to ride when I'm hitting the streets, gonna do some tricks, gonna cruise around, whatever. So starting it out, I'm always rocking TFL Grip. TFL Grip is the move. Right now I got the stock grip on here because I just threw this foot pad on, but I like to wear it out first and then put the grip on. So usually TFL Grip all day. It's got that perfect balance between grippiness, but also you can still move your feet around a little bit, because like a lot of freestyle riding is very similar to skateboarding, where foot placement is key. So like where you put your feet is gonna affect a lot of how the board acts. So I like a grip tape that has a balance of grippy but not too grippy, and I definitely get that with the TFL Grip. So that's what I'm rocking on front and back usually, but right now I got the stock on it. And side note, seems like Onewheel made their stock grip tape a little more gritty, which is cool, but it wears out pretty quick. Moving on, got the Fender Deletes because I don't like Fenders. Jeff doesn't like Fenders. There's a lot of people don't like Fenders. Here's why, if you've ever been wondering. A, Fenders are top heavy. Don't like how top heavy Fenders are. B, Fenders are loud. When you're riding on the street, you're riding on trails, gravel, stuff like that, it's like all the time. And if you don't got music or something, that's just super annoying. So I don't like the noise. And then also my Onewheel flips and rolls and crashes around all the time, so Fenders all just end up getting beat up. So I don't like the Fender, and I don't like how the Onewheel looks without Fender Deletes. So you'll always catch me with no Fender and a set of Fender Deletes on my board. Moving on, the tire. The tire, in my opinion, is the most important thing on the Onewheel. The biggest change you can make, the best accessory, what affects the riding experience the most, in my opinion, is the tire. And the tire that I rock, the tire that I love to rock, is the Burris times TFL Street Pro 6-inch slick tire. It's a great tire, I really like it. We took the Burris 6 slick and just kind of tweaked it a little bit, made a couple adjustments to make it more Onewheel specific, because all the tires we use on these boards are go-kart tires, and we just throw them on a Onewheel. So this was kind of tweaked a little bit to be a little more friendly to the Onewheel, and I really like the way it rides. It's got a nice, very narrow flat spot on it, and so you get that stability out of the tire, and it doesn't feel like you're on a marble. But then from that thin flat spot, you have a nice progressive edge to it and reinforced sidewalls, so it keeps its shape and just has a really nice edge-to-edge turny feel while still having a good balance of control. And that's what I'm looking for, because when I'm doing, hippie jumps or sex changes or shoves, there's a lot of tricks where you're coming off the board and you're really hoping that that board stays flat. And so I do like that little bit of stability to this tire, but also a nice carvy, fun, playful feeling. Now the next thing, while we're on the tire, let's talk about these TheFloatLife Savers, these new rim guards. This is actually something that we came out with recently, and it is a game changer. I can't even tell you how many, well, I can tell you, every single board I've had, I've cracked the rim. I've broken a piece of it off. Actually, one time I was borrowing the owner of Flight Fin's board at a group ride, and I went for a backside 180 at a skate park, cracked the rim, the piece of the rim went into his tire and popped his tire. And it was a nice, fresh ass board. This dude keeps his boards super nice. And I was having issues, I was visiting town, he gave me his board and I ruined it. And if it had some of these on it, wouldn't have happened. And I can tell you that because at Meals of Onewheel, I did an early grab backside 180 off this big ledge and just jammed my rim into the ground, like jammed it into the ground. And if I didn't have this on it, it would have absolutely obliterated my rim. But I popped the bead out, the Lifesaver hit the ground and slipped off. And you look after, I was like, oh, no. Perfectly perfect. Not even bent, not even nicked, nothing. So these, I keep these on all my boards now. Absolutely never gonna be on a Onewheel without these on my board, because the aluminum that these motors are made out of is just terrible. So it just breaks and bends and chips super easily. And then once it breaks off, it's gonna poke your tire and it's just problems on problems on problems. Moving on, foot pad. Got to have the cush pads. The urethane is a game changer. This foot pad is made of urethane, so it's basically a big skateboard wheel on my Onewheel, so I love that part about it. It's also that urethane is really good, absorbs a little bit of shock, gives you a little bit of cushiness to your feet for those gnarly landings. And just the shaping profile of each of the foot pads, the low and the high are great. I keep the cush low going for 2 reasons. For the lower amount of weight, I like to keep my street board as light as possible for doing tricks and popping stuff. And also just the mellower, less intense concave profile helps when I'm jumping off that board and not pushing off those nice shaped up sidewalls. I want those shaped up sidewalls of the foot pad when I'm on the trail, hitting deep, heavy turns, flying with all that chunder. But on the street, I want it a little mellower, a little softer, still get that added heel toe control and ease on my back foot, but not too much. So that is the top of my board. And on the sides of my board, you can't see it, but I got the homebrews on this bad boy. Got the straight homebrews, the OGs. They are 70-75 aircraft grade aluminum rails with a deleted hole and extended threads. They're what you need if you're riding freestyle. If you ride your board hard, you know that your rails, they bend, they get crooked, they like shoot out to the sides, they'll bend over. All your threads will strip out. These 2 holes right under the controller box take a bunch of pressure, and the OG rails that they come with have like a quarter, like just the littlest amount of metal there, so they just blow out super easy. And then you put inserts in, and then the inserts blow out. And I used to be hot gluing wing nuts to the inside of my rail, sitting there trying to get it in, and then I'd break the glue off before threads, and I'd have to take the whole board apart again and try to get the wing nuts. Like, it's just terrible. But homebrews, these homebrews on here are actually prototype homebrews. These aren't even the 70-75 homebrews, and they are solid as a rock. They do not strip, they do not bend. Since homebrews became a thing, I've not ever had any problems with my rails since. So that's cool, because that used to be the bane of my existence, was the broken hubs and the bent and stripped rails. That was just terrible. But got the homebrews on this bad boy, so don't need to worry about that anymore. Then I got the TFL sidekicks on lock, obviously, because you got to protect your investment, get it looking good. I actually got the pink and black, and then the checkers and black on the other side. You like that little combo, that little Harley Quinn action, you know? So I got her all kitted up, got the sidekicks on, got the TheFloatLife badge, because you know what brand we reppin'. And I also got this cool button. Yo, Elijah, my cameraman, come in on this button. You see this button? This thing is rad. Homie on Instagram, I think he goes by Field Mouse. Dude reached out to me, asked if I wanted a custom button. Thought it was super cool, and it is super cool, and I'm pumped on it. But you can get that same vibe from the TFL button plug on the website, so come check that out. But moving on, I think the last thing we have to talk about is the bang bumpers. Bang bumpers, I don't care if you're riding street, I don't care if you're riding trail, I don't care what you're riding, you gotta have some bang bumpers on your Onewheel for many, many reasons. But reason number 1, these things don't crack at all. These will not crack. They're super strong, they slide super well. One of the coolest parts about the bangs, in my opinion, is that if you took them like this and you put a straight edge on them like this, there's gonna be gaps on the sides because both bumpers have a convex shape to them. And so that's really sick for slides because there's a lot less surface friction, and also it gives you a little more forgiveness and tolerance when you're on like chundery, bumpy stuff that you're trying to slide, and there's things that are kind of catching. So it's not catching the edge of your bumper, your float plate or whatever it be. It's just kind of sliding over it, under it, and it's able to kind of get up over those things, if you know what I'm saying. And the other cool thing about that shape to them is that when you're dragging your tail, like a lot of times when we land bonks, you bounce up in the air and then the board's going like spinning the motor super hard. So you land and it smacks the tail down, and then you have to kind of steer out of it. And with what we've had in the past, it was flat, and so you'd kind of had to like pivot steer. But now with the convex of the float plates, it has that roundness to it, so you hitting your tails down and you can actually kind of steer the board a lot better with your tail down. And then for psychos like me, you get that same effect with your nose drags. But if you're like me and you've nose dragged miles and miles and miles into your bangs, they get a little flat. But if you notice, all this flatness I took away like probably this much meat of the bumper, miles and miles of nose drags, and I'm still not even down to my screws yet. So Gotta have the bangs on your board. And honestly, like when you go from stock bumpers and stock rails to bang bumpers and homebrew rails, the board feels noticeably stronger and just more rigid. You don't feel the torsional flex. You don't get the creakiness and the weirdness. It doesn't sound all hollow and rattly. It sounds better and like more firm, and doesn't sound like it's about to fall apart on you. So I have the bangs now, and I will forever have the bangs on here, and they're a complete game changer. So that's almost the last thing, because I got them Grizzly Bearings, you know what I'm saying? We got the Grizzly Bearings in this thing, the butteriest, gnarliest, best bearings we could get. I remember the day we were in the old float shop and Jeff made the decision. He's like, you know what? We need to make the best possible one-wheel bearings we can make. I'm gonna go find some people, and I'm gonna max out everything and make them as good as possible. And that's what he did, and he accomplished it. And the Grizzly Bearings are just like max prestige one-wheel bearings, super buttery. I rock the ceramics. I like the ceramic vibe. And they just give you that little bit of extra low-end torque, a little more buttery ride, a little bit of more range. And it's pretty crazy how it is a little bit of a noticeable difference when you ride them. Yeah, you gotta have the Grizzlies on deck. Sometimes, and I used to let my bearings wear out and then swap them in, but now I'm kind of just a little spoiled, so just gotta have the Grizzlies on lock. That's pretty much it. This is my board. I can't imagine switching it up unless some other crazy stuff comes out in the future. You never know what Jeff's got up in that dome of his. But yeah, I love this board. I love the way it rides. It holds me good, do a bunch of fun tricks with it. And yeah, if you don't have this setup and you wanna ride like me, get this setup. Plain and simple. And also have a good day. And also float on, my friends.
Wow. That's what I was gonna try to do. I was thinking about that. That's gonna be a move. Oh, that's it. Episode 2 of Rep Your Set. That was Bodhi's setup. That dude breaks boards like you wouldn't believe. But guess what? Hasn't broken a board in a minute. I don't know. What do we attribute that to? He's got some good protection on there. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, tune in next episode. It's going to be me, my setup for street. It's going to be a good one. Float on, my friends.